welcome. Today we are going to take a look at the Frostmage build. So this build is balanced around 300 champion points, so you do not require the maximum CP amount. Now, you will find the written guide on alcasthq.com/frostmage. So where can you use this build? So basically you can use this build for solo or in 4-man dungeons or in normal trials. You could use it in veteran trials, but it's not optimal. Now let's get started. So basically, let's see, when I kind of buff myself, just to show you the stats really quickly. 39k Magicka, 18k health, 1k Magicka recovery, 2.6k spell damage and almost 70% spell crit, depending on what weapon we use. So again, this is 300 champion points, it's not the max CP, so if you had more champion points you would get more stats here. Okay, now we are using health and Magicka buff food, which is really nice. Then potions, so there's 2 potions you can use. Those here give spell damage, spell crit and Magicka. They are really expensive. So you also could use the normal ones, which only give Magicka and they drop from mobs, so you can buy them cheap in guild stores. And we have other ways of getting spell damage buff, because we have power surge from the Magicka Sorcerer. We will lose a little bit crit, but it doesn't really matter that much. Now, what race? So basically you can play as any race. The build is not bound to any race. If you want a more optimal race, you should choose a high elf or a dark elf or a Breton, but it really doesn't matter. You can be Argonian, you can be a Nord, it's really up to you. Then, in terms, before I forget it, we are using the Thief Mundus Stone to get more spell crit, which is really nice. Then in terms of gear, so on my website I will have 3 different setups. So as you can see here, the best in slot setup, like 5 Winterborn, 2 Ice Heart, 3 Willpower and a Master stuff. Now this is, let's say, especially the Master stuff is pretty difficult to get, so it requires probably a lot of work till you get that stuff, and it's not easy. So I have easy to get gear setup, which as you can see here, like Seducer, then you go with Spinner's Garment, easy peasy. This doesn't really require a lot of farming and you can get it really fast. Maybe the monster set, but it shouldn't take too long because the drop rate is really nice. Now I am using the medium way, like the one between those two, which requires a little bit farming but it's not too difficult. So let's just take a look. So I'm using 5 pieces Winterborn. You see the 5-piece bonus. When you deal damage with a cold damage ability, you have an 8% chance to summon an ice pillar that deals cold damage. So when I do this, you see those ice pillars there? They kind of pop up. And again. And the stuff you have seen swirling around me is the Ice Heart set. So when you deal critical damage, you have a 20% chance to gain a damage shield. This is really nice. And as long as the damage shield holds, you'll deal cold damage around you. So that's pretty cool. So we have a lot of like frosty skills and frosty sets, really cool. And then I'm using 4 pieces Spinner's Garments. So this is really easy to get. It drops in Malabal Tor here. It drops from bosses, from Dark Anchors. So basically on Dark Anchors you can get the jewelry, which is like, maybe most of the times it's blue quality, but if you're lucky it will also drop in purple. So it really shouldn't take you too long to get the jewelry, and then you kind of need to be lucky to get the ice stuff, but you also can buy one in the guild stores. They're not really expensive, depending on whether you're using precise or sharpened. Okay, now again, like, it doesn't really matter if you use precise or sharpened. Sharpened would be slightly better, but the difference is not that huge. Now in terms of weapon enchantments, we're using a spell damage glyph here to increase our spell damage, and on the second bar we're using a crusher enchantment to reduce the target spell resistance. Really nice. Now before I forget it, Winterborn, like you need the Hrothgar DLC to drop this. It's here in the Maelstrom arena. So you should be doing the normal Maelstrom, okay? Like the veteran one is too difficult with 300 CP for most people, so do the normal. In normal, veteran CP 160 gear drops, so the maximum level gear drops in the normal. You can get it there. And if you haven't done it yet, it's really fun, just give it a try. It requires farming, I know, but it has to be done. Then Iceheart drops in Dire Frost Keep. So this is kind of a dungeon. On my website you will find the links to where drops what, so you can just go check it out there. Now champion points, so the setup is really easy. Just put the 100 points into Elemental Expert, then put the 100 points into Magician, and then put 50 into Hardy and 50 into Elemental Defender. Now boom. Now this one here is the most important one, 100 into Elemental Expert, simply because we also need spell precision. You see, like when we put 30 points in here, we get more spell critical, which is really nice. Now if you have more champion points, you can of course invest more, and if you have less champion points, just start filling up those things I just showed you. Then in terms of skills, so there is a few things you can do. First off, the passives. Which passives do you need? Dark Magic, Daedric Summoning, Storm Calling, Destruction Stuff, Light Armor. Then heavy armor, you need the Juggernaut, but if you don't have this, it's not the world's end, it just gives you a little bit more health. If you want, you can use those here in the Soul Magic. If you have, use the Mage's Guild ones, but if you don't have them, it doesn't really matter that much. Then Undaunted. If you have Undaunted, it's nice to have because it gives you 6% extra resources. Then of course you want the racial passives, and the alchemy you need medicinal use, so your potions hold longer. Now in terms of skills, what do we use? So we have the Blockade of Frost here. This is from the destruction stuff. This is one of our AoE abilities, and you also should use it on single target. Then we have Crystal Fragments, so we only use this ability when it instantly procs. So the second text, casting any other magic ability has a 35% chance of causing your next Crystal Frag to be instant, dealing 20% more damage and costs 50% less. Really nice. Then Force Pulse. So this is kind of our main damage skill on single target. And then on this here we use Elemental Drain. So to keep our resources high, we can use Elemental Drain on mobs. You see, like, while the effect is active, attacks with the Flame Shock or Frost damage restore 500 Magicka. So this is really nice. If you think you have enough sustain, you can use Harness Magicka here, because shield is always nice and it saves you from dying. Then fifth skill, Bound Aegis. This one gives us 8% more Magicka, really nice. Then the ultimate is from the destruction tree, the Elemental Rage Morph. So you see, like, depending on what stuff we use, Frost Shock or Fire, the elemental damage changes. So the Icy Rage, when we go here, you see Icy Rage, affected targets are immobilized. So basically what that means is the enemies can't move as long as the ultimate is on the ground. It's really nice. And you see I popped it before here and the mobs basically instantly died. It deals so much damage, it's insane. Then second bar, this is our AoE bar, Liquid Lightning. So this does a lot of damage, as you can see. like 2.6k shock damage every second, really nice. Then we are having dark conversion here, so basically if I'm using like my Magicka, I can use dark conversion and it fills Magicka back up, really nice. It consumes stamina and it fills Magicka back up. Frost ring, so you want to use this when there is several mobs, it deals damage. Just make sure to keep up liquid lightning and the frost ring, and if you want you also can keep up this here. You should actually, because of our sets. Then we have power surge, so this one you see while active dealing a critical strike heals you for 2.5k health. So that's why we want to have quite a high crit rating, so we always have access to heals, which is nice. Then the last skill is Bound Aegis, same thing again, it needs to be slotted on both bars to be active. Now on the second ultimate bar here you can use Shooting Star, you could use any skill, you could use a Storm, Matronarch, it doesn't really matter that much. So again, really the build is fun to play, and you see we have a lot of ice skills and cool sets to play with, and it actually deals nice damage. Again, like, check out the build on my website, I have a lot of different setups there, like easy to get and all that kind of stuff. Now, if you have any questions about the build itself, you can always ask me in the comment section below here. I will try to answer as much as possible. And yeah, that's basically it. I hope you will have fun, so thanks for watching and see you soon. Cheers.